We got another episode here of fixing stuff on the crashed car. But check it out, it's all freshly washed and clean. Getting real close to being able to tear all this down and put new parts on, but till then, at least they're shiny crashed parts. That was odd, washing the smushed fender and hood. But anyway, what we're doing right now is fixing the air conditioning on this car, because it doesn't work anymore immediately after the crash. And it seems as though our system is not low on refrigerant. We didn't break open anywhere. And I think all of my switches and doodads involved in the AC system are operational, because our issue is the clutch won't engage anymore. And down there at the switch, at the clutch on the compressor, we have power when you turn the AC or the defrost on. So that leads me to believe that all my switches are working and nobody's interfering and making it not cutting the power away because it's low on refrigerant or whatever. So what I've theorized from there as being our problem, what I'm thinking our problem must be, since we get power to the clutch on here and nothing happens there. If you check this out over here, this is what's left of an AC clutch off of the police car that we bought, and this is the clutchy part. It used to have a bearing in here, that's not there anymore. That faceplate goes on the front of this. This is the guide that idles and spins around so your serpentine belt can turn all the time. And then this thing right here is a big magnet. See, it's got the connectors there. It's like an electromagnet. When you put the power to that, that's the switch on the car down there. That's the connector that the power goes to. When you gives it the power, it just sucks the metals to it. It fires up the electromagnet. It sits right in there like so, so it's right on the other side of this. See, you look on this compressor that has the front plate on it. In the center of that plate, it like screws into the compressor, so that plate turns the compressor. When the spinny guy is spinning separate from each other, the magnet sucks that plate into the spinny guy, and then the compressor spinning with the spinny guy. Except in our case, when the power hits it, it doesn't do anything. So what I'm thinking is wrong is this electromagnet, they seem to be fragile and they don't like to be like struck with anything or shock forces. So I'm thinking, since everything quit working immediately after the crash, I bet our electromagnet is in rough shape on the inside. So I pulled the parts off of the other car, thinking maybe I could use this one. Doesn't look very good. Ordered a new clutch for the AC compressor. So now we have a shiny new replacement clutch and magnet and pieces and parts to replace that one. So yeah, we're gonna do that. It looks like it was real easy to do this job on our police car, because there's nothing there. The whole front end's torn down to the frame. But on this car, it looks as though just maybe I can remove our fan, what's left of our fan shroud, and the electric cooling fan that comes with it, and then it looks like I might have just barely enough room to get my big enormous 3-jaw puller. See, it's got the 2 holes. It's in snub nose mode now. I think I got just enough room to get that in there and pull the old stuff off of the compressor and put the new stuff on without removing it off the car. So yeah, now I'm going to pull that fan and what's left of the shroud and that stuff, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, this clutch looked great. See that bearing? That's in fantastic shape. That's great, so this will make a great idler pulley on the dead compressor on the other car. You see down here our magnet looks all nice and not covered in rust and disgusting. The only thing that happened to it is it got smashed. Alright, now we've got the old AC clutch and I think it's called a field magnet or whatever, electromagnetic guy removed. So now we move over to the new part. Now we press the new magnetic guy in, the same orientation. There's an indentation on the compressor to allow for that plug. It's real easy to keep it straight when it's still in the car because you know it needs to point at the connector again. But when we're putting this on, I don't have a press to like slide it back, so what I'll do is put it on, put a board on it, and very, very gently tap on that board because these things are like fragile, and if you go sliding it on and just pounding on this rim with your hammer, it will slide it right on, but you'll likely damage the coil on the inside, and then I'll be right back where I was. So that'd be no good. So now I'll go ahead and get that reinstalled, and then the AC clutch, I'll put it right back on over it and use the same method with the board and a hammer, get it all tapped back in place, and then we can start putting the rest of it back together and turn the AC on and see if it goes click and starts turning the compressor. Wouldn't that be sweat? Alright, well that's wonderful news. It took some working back and forth between the couple washers that it comes with. See the guy, when it slides in, there's little washers that go in there so you get the correct distance away from the spinny guy. That way you're not engaged all the time or partially engaged, which is the worst. Well, they're both the worst because engaged all the time will kill the compressor. Partially engaged will kill the clutch and make everything really hot and smoky. And having too much space will make it where when the magnet pulls the guy over, it will either not be contacting or just barely and throwing sparks everywhere like you seen. So yeah, now we're gonna put this back together and pull the car out of the shop with the cold AC blowing for ourselves. That's the end of a successful mechanicking video there, boys. Now we got cold AC in the Vic again. Thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, and go fix your wife's AC compressor right now, quick.